first speaker, Greg Stangl, is going to talk to us about the, his project, case study of the North Fork Community Power Plant. He's with Phoenix Energy from Walnut Creek, California. So, Greg, you ready to roll?
Sure.
All right.
We are here to talk to you about what is now our fourth plant that we're putting online here in California. We have been doing biomass gasification since, in California since 2007. Our first plant came online, a little teeny tiny guy, half a megawatt in Merced, California in 2010. Of course, by the time PG&E got us interconnected, I think it was around about 2011. Since that time, we have watched the technology expand greatly, and I am one of the, I think, unique individuals in this room, which was, quite frankly, when we built our first gasification plant in 2003, I thought biochar was a waste product. And it ended up, saving our lives in that biochar, was a very valuable commodity, and farmers just started showing up and asking if we could provide it by the truckload, and that was a unique and life-saving experience, and it allows us to keep having this conversation. So our business, basically, we build community scale carbon removal plants. Now, we've been removing carbon since in California since we put that first one online in 2010. The climate aspects of it did not particularly become valuable to anybody until about 48 hours ago, but that has been a very unique and positive aspect of late. We take residuals from the ag, waste, and forestry space increasingly. We gasify them into a hydrogen-rich syngas, which we, you can do an awful lot with hydrogen. We have been utilizing the electricity pathway, and so we make that electricity. We also make biochar and carbon credits. All right. So again, as a business, it's really those three core revenues of energy sales, carbon credits, and biochar sales. And those are just some of the partners that we work with. So our portfolio of assets that we have constructed here in California, except that first little guy, that one's from Europe. That was the first one we ever built way back in 2003. Our first two plants were agricultural, running on peach pits in Modesto, and wood chips in Merced. We did a plant up at Upper Valley in Napa, and the one we're talking to you about today is the very exciting one, which is our first forestry project. It's a 2 megawatt facility in North Fork, California. So again, one of the unique aspects of gasification is that this has a tremendous impact on climate. Oddly, the smallest impact that we have is the biochar part of it, and that is the part for which we can get paid. But really, a lot of the work that we do today is about the prevention of catastrophic wildfire. And so, hey, let's stop pushing that stuff into a pile and lighting it on fire. Let's stop, waiting for the wind to be the right direction and torching it. Let's do something to capture that energy. So our whole model is really about that. It's maximizing the entire energy content of the product. So as opposed to a process where your gas might just be flared off as you're making the biochar, we primarily take that gas, cool it, clean it, and in the case of North Fork, use it to produce energy. So I'm just going to go as quickly as I can here. For us, it's all about community scale. Most of the projects we have really were originated, ideated by the community to solve a problem. Since we've been here long enough, really, this was about rural job creation and catastrophic wildfire risk reduction, much more than other things. And the wildfire aspect of what we do has just become increasingly important. And I think, politically, we've got both the state and the federal government very interested in minimizing the amount of cell phone video of people driving through the tunnel of flame on their way out of the woods, and that has created a significant opportunity for the folks in this room. The other thing about our scale, particularly in North Fork, is in a place like California, it has to be about the social license to build. And particularly when we speak with the investor community, we get a lot of, well, bigger is better, and why aren't these things bigger? And the challenge you have is, I guarantee you, if you tried to do this at the scale of 25 to 30 megawatts, the Sierra Club has written us letters of support before, and they would be chaining themselves to your equipment to prevent that. So our model is really to stay as small and circular as we can. The economics of biomass, bigger is not better. Please don't move stuff. And your social license to build is bigger. Bigger is not better. And then I'm so glad you have Fred Tornator from TSS here, because he's going to tell you all about it's about land use, dummy. Like, you have got to focus in on that stuff, but I'm not going to steal Fred's thunder, because he's going to do a better job talking to you about that. The one thing that has made our existence possible is the solid economic foundation, which is, quite frankly, the annuity cash flow. It is the energy part of the North Fork plant that pays for the party, so to speak. Biochar, we still to this day get very, very little credit in the financial, particularly the project finance markets, for that as a revenue source. So really, our revenue model for this asset breaks down this. It's about 85% energy sales, which is really the core of why we even get to stand before you here today. Biochar composed at the time of the project's design. Biochar composed about 10% of the revenue, and then carbon credits magically, thankfully, appeared right after COVID absolutely kicked us in the teeth and allowed everybody to tear up their fixed price construction contracts thanks to this amazing Latin term called force majeure. We had to go out and find ourselves some additional money, and what enabled that additional money was the great folks at places like Carbon Future and Puro Earth, and certainly a number of people I haven't met yet who are also a big part of this solution in providing contracts for carbon credits. Contracts are what is vital. Contracts are a big challenge for biochar, and I hope when we talk about policy later, we're all going to shout with one loud voice about our big helpers in the state and federal government about providing offtake contracts. Much more than helping us coordinate fuel deliveries, which, right now, like, we have contracts to buy fuel at $40 a ton. Right now, that fuel is paying money to come in the door. We're all good on fuel. Like, we don't have a fuel problem. What we've noticed is that the biochar carbon credits are now upside down. The carbon credits have become more valuable, and the biochar has become precipitously less valuable. Now, I do believe and hope that that is in large measure because of the current market condition, and it's new and it's fresh, and there are, this conference 10 years ago was a lot smaller. So there are a lot of new faces out here, which is awesome, but is definitely creating some challenges in There are a number of people out there who are so interested in generating carbon credits that they're taking what had been a very valuable byproduct and kind of giving it away so that we can get carbon credits. So we've seen the pricing really ameliorate. 4 years, the price of carbon credit. 4 years ago, the price of carbon credits was zero. Then it was 3 years ago, it was $2.70. 2 years ago, it was like $77. And now it's in the hundreds. Well, less than 200, more than 100. But suffice it to say, that market has really gone from zero to hero in a short amount of time. And it really coincided with COVID coming in and making the capital cost to build this stuff 40% more expensive. And I know this is a problem faced by everybody in this room, that it's not the fancy expensive stuff that's more expensive, it's concrete and steel. We've seen a significant growth in our CapEx. Fuel is now a profit center, and for us, really this is about a networked O&M model, right? This works because we don't have a plant in Michigan and a plant in Maine. We have a plant in Merced and a plant in Modesto. And so by keeping our assets in a geographically tight footprint where labor and maintenance can be shared among those plants, we're able to graft the economies of scale of that larger plant. That 30 megawatt biomass plant can afford a $180,000 a year power plant engineer. A 3 megawatt biomass plant cannot afford that person. And the only way we make distributed work is by sharing that person across that network. So that is really a critical aspect of keeping a tight financeable model. So now we get into the capital stack conundrum. Remember, because we didn't, development is expensive. Like getting from concept to notice to proceed is not a cheap process. It used to cost us about $50,000 to $100,000 to get a project from concept to notice to proceed, like getting ready to start construction. Now we're easily $500,000 in, plus potentially $1 million utility deposit to get to that point. In the North Fork example, and this is one of the areas where we're really trying to innovate, we used tax-exempt bonds, and this is, I think, important because the mezzanine, because of the existence of the investment tax credit, we're able to get a senior debt slice for about 75% of the capital, and then with that 30% investment tax credit, we're able to layer another slice of mezzanine debt on top, so that we've been able to finance these assets with 100% debt. We do sprinkle on top of that some grants from our great supporters. If you find someone from the Forest Service today, give them a hug. If you see somebody from CAL FIRE, please give them a hug and tell them Greg says he loves them and they're awesome. Definitively we would not be here without those state and federal agencies. And if you can look out there, there's a logo of just about every agency with a checkbook on that plant. And yes, some of those grants were, see that second one, top row, Sierra Nevada Conservancy. Man, those guys were awesome on the development. I can't tell you how many $4,999 grants they gave to the community that originated this idea. To pay for this, to pay for that. And there's a reason it was $4,999 instead of $5,000. I'm sure some of our colleagues from the state who might be in the audience can tell you about that. But that was how we were able to make it work. There were some other pretty arcane tax credits. This is sort of a joke. I have a tattoo that says I will never do another new market tax credit ever again. It is tempting, and people tell you it's free money. It is anything but free. But we were able to sell a tax credit to JP Morgan, and that really helped us with some of our working capital needs during the project. Oh no. I think, did I hit the wrong button? No. Okay. So for us, again, the climate impact is really about that scale. It's about making this repeatable. So I want all those biochar guys who are out there in the woods with us. You know, it's not 1, it's 2, it's 10, it's 20. I mean, there is an ocean of fuel out there. Like I said, there's so much fuel out there, it's paying to come in the door. And, you know, we've been in this business since, you know, we've been buying fuel since 2010, right? It ain't ever paid to come in the door before. This is a very new situation that we find ourselves in. And again, just to give you, you know, some examples about the various different ways we have had to, you know, I have a name for each one of these agencies, and one of them we call duct tape, and the other one is baling wire, and then there's chewing gum and spit, and you know, like we had to graft a stupid number of these guys together to make this happen. But the great thing is that they all want to help you. Each and every one of them wants to help you. And you got to remember that grants are lottery tickets, not, you know, it is a hard financing tool, and it makes the whole process take longer. The embarrassing part about North Fork, I have to tell you, is that's over 10 years of effort to get to today. 10 years of effort to get to that picture right there. And the community was actually working on, it's been 10 years of our effort, right? The community has been working on that project for longer. There you go. So I don't know if you want to take questions now or at the end, but all right.
Hello, Greg. This is Hugh McLaughlin. I know you're going to think it's just me being petty, but tell us about the biochar you're making and the markets you're putting them into, because, of course, at the end of the day, biochar becomes a much more sophisticated product as time goes on, and we'd just be interested in knowing how yours fits in.
Amen. So obviously, when we got started, as I told you, I thought it was a waste product, right? So I was an idiot, and actually the first guy I ever had take look at our biochar was Hugh McLaughlin. So it was all agriculture, and it was all like, I'm never going to sell to a farmer with the shoes I wear, right? It's not a fit. We answered phones, and farmers knew what they wanted to do with it, knew how they wanted to use it, and used it. Our efforts much more recently have been focused on higher value products where biochar is a consumable. So obviously water is a big area of focus for us, as well as chemicals. But that also ends up in the treatment space. I don't know if any of you. I think one of our staff offered to buy me lunch if I plugged the signing up for LinkedIn. But on that, you will see a really exciting project that we're doing with road building with a new partner from Europe who has a special process where they use biochar in the asphalt. So we're starting to look at more. We're starting to look at more things like that, and agriculture is becoming less and less of the end destination for the char.
Any other questions?
Are you just using like slash piles for this new place? Have you thought about using waste wood from forest fires as well?
Oh, absolutely. And if you come to the plant, you will see a few acres of trees that are black and charred on the outside and perfectly beautiful fuel on the inside. So we see a lot, but it is a full mixed bag. Most of it were beetle kill and fire. Initially, I was very afraid of having whole logs on the property. That there is a desperate need to do something with those whole logs. So we have a lot of them.
Okay, we got time for one more. Yes, ma'am.
As you look to expand out of California, what represents the perfect combination of factors to pick the next community or communities that you invest in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely beautiful. Get as close to load as you can. The way to maximize your revenue on this is find load. Now, that can be a tricky thing, like to find somebody who actually uses energy. But, you know, obviously you don't want to move the fuel, and obviously you don't want to move the energy. So those are probably two of the most critical factor, and it's a rule of thumb only, but get as close to the substation as you can. Don't be 20 miles from a substation. There you go.
Thanks, Greg.
Biochar.org appreciates the support of our sponsors, exhibitors, presenters, and attendees. We look forward to seeing you at our next conference in September 2025.